Breaking: Uruguay's match is hours away, but the team still can't enter the USA. The night before Uruguay's opening 2026 FIFA World Cup match, their charter flight was sitting on the ground in Cancun, Mexico, not delayed by weather, not held up by a mechanical fault. Grounded because the authorization to cross into the United States had not come through. The flight from Cancun to Miami takes roughly 2 hours. The match at Hard Rock Stadium was scheduled for 6:00 p.m., and the squad could not move. This was not a reserve group or a developmental side. On that plane were Darwin Núñez, Rodrigo Bentancur, Federico Valverde and José María Giménez, players at the highest level of club football in Europe, now stuck in a hotel in Mexico the night before their World Cup opener. Uruguay entered this tournament as a serious knockout contender. Their coach, Marcelo Bielsa, was not running tactical sessions or delivering team talks. He was waiting in a hotel room for clearance that had not arrived. The story broke publicly through journalist Ramon Molina, who described the situation as a catastrophe in terms of organization and reported that documents were visibly missing from the process. Within hours, Yahoo Sports, The Mirror, Kellnow, and HITC had all independently confirmed the same facts. Uruguay was stranded in Cancun. Then came the competing explanations, and this is where the story splits. The Asociación Uruguaya de Fútbol (AUF) did not blame an airline, they did not blame a junior official or a clerical error. Their spokesman placed the blame directly on FIFA. That was the official position of the federation. FIFA, on the other hand, issued a counterclaim describing the problem as a technical problem with the plane, framing it as a mechanical or operational issue, not a documentation or authorization failure. Two explanations, one team on the ground. Both cannot be true simultaneously. While Uruguay was waiting in Cancun, they were also missing a scheduled obligation back in Miami. The squad's official Sunday press conference, featuring Marcelo Bielsa and José María Giménez, was supposed to take place, a mandatory FIFA media commitment. It could not happen because the squad was still in Mexico. Here is the logic that follows. FIFA's organizational failure prevented Uruguay from reaching Miami in time. That absence meant Uruguay missed their official press conference, and FIFA holds the authority to issue sanctions against teams for missing official media obligations. The organization that caused the problem also holds the power to penalize the team for the consequences of that problem. That is not speculation, that is how FIFA's regulatory framework operates. Marcelo Bielsa has been here before, not literally, but in terms of this exact complaint. During the 2024 Copa America, also staged across the United States, Bielsa publicly and specifically criticized the tournament's logistical planning. He raised concerns about travel distances, the multi-city spread of venues, and what he described as inadequate planning for the demands placed on competing teams. He was not vague, he was not diplomatic, he was direct and on record. Now at the 2026 World Cup, his plane cannot get authorization to cross the border the night before match day 1. His concerns from 2024, documented in public, are now playing out in real time. What happened to Uruguay would be significant on its own, but it is not an isolated incident. Omar Artin was a referee selected by FIFA for this tournament. He was denied entry to the United States after 11 hours of questioning at the border. FIFA paid his full match fee rather than intervene or fight for his placement. Jibril Rajoub, the president of the Palestinian Football Association, held valid FIFA accreditation for official business at this tournament. As of the day before this incident, he was still waiting for U.S. entry. Thomas Partey, the Ghana vice-captain, was denied entry to Canada and was only eligible to participate from match 2 onward. Iran's squad spent weeks in Tijuana before their match at SoFi Stadium. 2 Iraqi players faced visa processing complications. Braille and Below of Switzerland encountered a technical visa issue. Wedji Pierre of Haiti faced entry difficulties. This is a documented, verified multi-incident list, not a conspiracy, not speculation. Across players, officials, federation presidents, and now an entire national team's charter flight, the access failures have hit every category of participant this tournament depends on. FIFA's consistent response across every one of these incidents has been a version of the same statement. The organization is not involved in the host country's immigration processes. That line has appeared repeatedly. But it does not hold in Uruguay's case because the AUF is not blaming U.S. immigration. The AUF is blaming FIFA directly. The U.S. State Department's position has been equally consistent. Rigorous vetting applies. U.S. law and national security protocols are not subject to modification for any event. Uruguay was also on the visa pause list. However, legal analysis from the Council on Foreign Relations (CFR) noted that the pause list technically applies to immigration visas, not tourist or visitor visas, the category under which most World Cup participants would travel. And yet, the plane still sat on the ground in Cancun. FIFA collected approximately $11 billion from this tournament. That figure represents broadcast rights, sponsorship deals, ticketing revenue, and commercial agreements built entirely around the spectacle of 48 nations competing across North America. Claiming non-involvement in the logistical consequences of a tournament that size, in a co-hosting arrangement across 3 countries, is not a defensible position. The 2026 FIFA World Cup was co-hosted across the United States, Canada, and Mexico and was sold to the world as a logistical triumph. The most accessible World Cup ever staged, the most efficiently delivered, the largest in history with 48 teams across 16 cities, that was the promise. 6 days into the tournament, the record shows. A FIFA-selected referee denied entry after 11 hours of questioning. A federation president with valid accreditation still waiting for clearance. A vice-captain of a competing nation barred from the opening match. A full national squad's charter flight grounded in Cancun the night before their opener. ESPN commentator Fernando Palomo put it plainly. They are squeezing the cow so hard they're going to leave it with no milk. He was speaking about commercialization, but the same logic applies to organization. A tournament cannot be stretched across 3 countries, expanded to 48 teams, monetized at a record scale, and then administered without the infrastructure that scale demands. A tournament that cannot get its own national teams into the host country on time is not a logistical triumph. Uruguay did eventually fly. The squad arrived in Miami. The match at Hard Rock Stadium went ahead as scheduled. But Bielsa's preparation was disrupted. The mandatory press conference was missed. The squad spent the night before a World Cup opener in a hotel in Cancun waiting for authorization that should have been in place days earlier. None of that disappears once the whistle blows. On the pitch, Darwin Núñez will be dangerous in the final third. Federico Valverde controls the midfield tempo. Saudi Arabia, Uruguay's opponent, arrived with a restructured tactical setup, one Bielsa will have studied regardless of the disruption. The 90 minutes will be the 90 minutes, but no World Cup team should be carrying this kind of institutional failure into an opener. The AUF blamed FIFA directly, not immigration, not an airline, not a clerical error. FIFA called it a technical problem with the plane. One team was on the ground in Cancun. Both explanations cannot be accurate. That discrepancy has not been resolved, and it sits at the center of a pattern that now spans referees, federation officials, individual players, and an entire squad's charter flight, all within the first week of the 2026 FIFA World Cup.